Honey, is this going my ass or yours? Hey guys, so this video we're going to talk about recovery and specifically the tools of recovery. So it's not necessarily goalie gear per se, but it's definitely has to do with goaltending, and it definitely can help your game, help you to feel better. So as I've talked about in a lot of past videos, I have bad hips. I have arthritis in both hips. I was born with a pistol grip hip deformity, is sort of the layman's term. It basically just equals like a hip impingement. It's just that I was born with it, whereas most people kind of develop it as like a bony growth. So like they would start off with a well-developed ball and socket joint, and then due to trauma or whatever, like bone growth happens there, and it kind of malforms that joint and causes impingement. With me, like I never really had that ball on the end of my, was it the femur or whatever? I never had that ball part of the joint. So it's not like something where I can just get it like shaved down like some people do when they have hip impingement. I would basically need like hip replacement to completely fix that. And it got to the point, I would say it was in like my late 20s, that I really started feeling it. Like I didn't even know I had that, to be honest, before that, because it just hadn't been flaring up to the point of like pain and that kind of thing. It's just that like I never had a wide butterfly, but I never looked into it or really wondered too much why. But in my late 20s, like the pain and discomfort and all that stuff really flared up. And that's when I got diagnosed. So I went to the doctor, found out what it was. And, it got to the point where I didn't even know if I was going to be able to still keep playing, because it was really bad. I was really in pain. And before that, I really wasn't much into recovery after playing. I stretched a little bit, but that was the extent of it. So once I discovered like what was going on with my hips, and I knew something had to be done if I wanted to keep playing. So I really started looking into recovery and different things you could do. And at this point, I mean, I've gotten it pretty well under control. I mean, look, I still have the issues, but I can play. For the most part, I'm not in too much pain or discomfort. As long as I do my recovery work and all that stuff, stay on top of it. Problem is, if I don't, start slacking off, then I start to feel it. But yeah, so recovery is such an important thing, guys. And just talking with people, whatever, I feel like a lot of people either don't take it too seriously or don't even do like any kind of recovery at all. And like that's crazy to me. And even if you right now don't have any kind of problems, it's still just good practice to get used to doing recovery. And it might even prevent stuff from happening. It might put off you really starting to feel stuff as you get older, because when you're pretty young, you don't really think about it. You're just feeling good or whatever, and then as you get older, your body's just falling apart. But it's just a good habit to get into recovery, even if you're not necessarily having issues right now. Because as goalies, we put so much wear and tear on our bodies, especially the hips, lower body type of thing. So this video is just going over like things you can do and the tools. I'm not going to necessarily tell you exactly what to do. I'm not going to tell you certain specific stretches. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical trainer. I have no degree in this kind of thing. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to do. I've come up with a routine that I know works for me. You guys figure out what works for you. Great resource is Maria Mountain's channel. Look up her stuff. You can get a lot of good ideas from there, or just in general in the internet, YouTube. There's a lot of stuff out there that'll give you like specific routines to do. I'm just going to talk about the tools of recovery. So Obviously, the baseline minimal what you should be doing is stretching afterwards. That goes without saying. It's probably even more important to stretch afterwards than before. You know, the old school thought from like early old PE days, you know, they would tell you like, oh, warm up before you go out there. And like, yeah, okay, warm up, stretch before you go out, obviously, but really it's more important in recovery to stretch. So that's, I mean, there's no tools for that. I'm just telling you like that's the baseline you need to be doing no matter what. So then beyond that, now I want to talk about like the tools that I use, things that you guys can use. So the first thing is not really anything I'm going to show you, but you know, supplements, uh, the glucosamine, the joint pills. I also take this other drink. Again, I'm not going to tell you exactly what to take. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to give you guys direct medical advice necessarily, but just I would say look into taking some sort of supplement. You know, this if you really look into it, the science of it is a little iffy. There's not necessarily that I've come across like 100% proven that oh these pills are going to do this or whatever. It's sort of like, well, we think these pills are good for the joints or whatever. I mean, bottom line is there's like no side effect to it. So it's not like something bad's going to happen. It's just that it's kind of up in the air like how effective a lot of these supplements are actually. Now, you know, if money's tight and these supplements are kind of expensive, I would say maybe you can skip that then, just because of the fact that it's not like a 100% thing with these supplements. But with me, I can afford it. And like I said, there's not like a downside to it. So worst case, it's doing nothing for me. Best case, it is helping me a little bit. You know, it's hard to say because I do so much for my recovery and my health. It's hard to say or pinpoint what specific things are doing what necessarily. But I just take these supplements, you know, like the pills and the drink. Um, like I said, just kind of like in case it is doing something. There's no downside really to me other than the money you're paying for it. I can afford it, so I'm doing that. If you can afford it, I would say give it a chance. You know, if not, okay, maybe you can skip the supplement thing. But so let's move on to stuff that like 100% works and is going to help you out. I'm going to kind of start off with like the easiest thing you can do or get, and then we'll move on to like the more elaborate stuff. First thing, tennis ball. You can use a lacrosse ball, a baseball. You can, you know, it varies, but basically some kind of ball. The harder the ball is, the more it's going to dig in. For me, so like I started with a tennis ball as far as doing, so what they call it is like myofascial release, something like that. I might be saying it wrong. And it's basically like, think of it like massaging basically. It's like a massage therapy for your muscles. But obviously we don't have, or at least 99% of us don't have access to like our own personal masseuse all the time, daily. So we have to kind of do it ourselves, right? So all these tools are basically for that. It's this myofascial release of your muscles. So, like I said, tennis ball, lacrosse ball, whatever you want to use, some kind of ball like that, roughly this size. And you just, you know, you sit on it, you put it under your leg, and you just kind of roll your muscle on top of it. You know, you want to go nice and easy, really get it in there, the problem areas. I mainly use the tennis ball for like the glutes and then a little bit on the hips. I find it's not really that effective on the leg just because it's kind of between the size of it, it's just kind of like weird or awkward to really get your leg on top of it enough for it to do anything. That's where some of these other stuff comes in. So some of the stuff I'm going to show you that I use kind of overlaps with each other as far as what they do, but I use all these things in various ways just to like cover A to Z every muscle and every angle I can get to stuff. So you don't necessarily have to have all these things, but you know, the more stuff you can get, the better. The more coverage you can get as far as being able to get to these muscles. But like I said, this is kind of like the basic, cheapest, easiest thing, something like this. I just feel like, especially down the leg, it's kind of hard to get at certain muscles with this. But so this is like step one. This is like what I started using. Then I moved on to a foam roller, and probably out of anything here, I would say the foam roller is definitely the thing you need to get. It's going to be more expensive than a tennis ball, but you can get foam rollers for not that pretty cheap, whatever. They're not that expensive, and the benefit you get from them is definitely worth it. So if there's nothing else you from this video you get or you want to buy, I would say make it this, if anything, the foam roller. It has pretty good versatility as far as what you can get, what muscles you can hit with it, different angles. And you basically you set it on the ground and you roll on top of it, hence the name foam roller. This one I've upgraded to one with spikes to really dig in more. You can get, if you're just starting out, you'd probably just get a smooth one that doesn't have these spikes and it's not as intense, because when you start out, especially if you've never done it before, you're really going to feel it. Even if you don't think, like, you might not necessarily think anything's wrong. You might say, oh, I don't feel any tightness, whatever. If you've never used a foam roller before, even if you think you feel fine, you're going to feel it. So, you start off easy. The more you get into it, you can get into more intense stuff like this with the spikes or whatever. But definitely, I really implore you guys to use some kind of foam rolling in your recovery. So if I could only use one thing that I had, it would be this. So that was like kind of the next step. Then another tool I got is this little thing. I don't actually know what the technical name for it is. To me, it kind of just seems like a dough roller or something if you're baking. And that's basically what you do. You roll it over your muscles. You roll it over whatever muscle you want, and it puts that pressure on it and really rolls that muscle out. You may have seen these, and if you're watching some kind of professional sports, I've seen the trainers using this on guys. The good thing about this is it's super portable. It's not that big. So for traveling and whatever, this is real easy to just stick in your suitcase or whatever and use. And you can really, because you're holding it and you're using your own force like this. You're not just laying on top of it. You're actually putting force yourself and pressing it on. You can really dig in there. But this and the foam roller overlap a lot in what they do. So you guys probably don't need both, one or the other. I would suggest more so the foam roller, but if it's some issue where you're traveling a lot and maybe you just can't fit the foam roller in your bag or whatever, like I said, this is an easy one to travel with. So then maybe you'd want to get this. But yeah, I basically collect all these tools and I'm open to using anything to try to help myself out because of how bad my hip issues are. So I use all these things together. But like I said, you don't necessarily have to use all these things. This is just the next in line of what I'm showing you. And then finally, this is the newest thing I started using, although I've been using it now for almost 2 years, probably. But it's the latest thing that I have added to my routine, and that is a massage gun. So this is the brand name of this is Theragun. There's other brands, other things. Theragun is one of the more expensive ones. So you can definitely get ones that are cheaper that are made by other brands, whatever. But this thing was really a game changer to me. It took what I was doing with the other stuff, which definitely did help and is good, and it just took it to a whole other level when I started using this. Because this really, it comes with different heads here you can put on here. Depending on what model, what kind you get, there's different speeds and stuff. But you can just really target areas, you really dig in. And I just feel like this has helped me the most. It's hard for me to really express how much of a difference it makes because you guys don't know, you're not in my head, you're not in my body. You guys don't know how bad my hips were before and how much better they've become now since I've done all this. But I just can't stress enough how much all this stuff has helped. Like honestly, guys, I would not be playing hockey still right now, or specifically goalie, uh, without these tools. It's really night and day difference. And if you're having any kind of problems, at least some, or if not all of these tools, I would highly suggest. Anytime I've in person talked with somebody that had issues and I've told them about this stuff and I let them use it, they've been blown away by it. They loved it. Um, so I think everybody should be doing at least some kind of recovery stuff like this. And again, obviously there's, depending on your financial situation, whatever, some of this stuff's really expensive. Like this gun is pretty expensive, but at the very least, you can get something like a foam roller, you can get the tennis ball, and just start doing something. But yeah, all this stuff has been a lifesaver to me. So I just wanted to do a video about it. I don't really have any new gear or anything to make a video on that right now. So in the meantime, I figured I'd do a video on this. So like I said, it's not necessarily specifically goaltending gear, but it's definitely something goalie related that we can all use and helps us. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's basically the video. Like I said, I'm not here to give you specific routines necessarily. I just wanted to talk about these various like tools or whatever you can do, and just kind of get that word out there. Like I'm always preaching about recovery stuff. Like whenever I talk to people, when I'm at goalie camps or whatever, with talking to other goalies, this comes up a lot, and I'm always just preaching to them because I know what a difference it's made for me. And especially when I hear somebody that just does little to nothing for recovery, I'm just like, man, you got to try it. I'm telling you, you're going to be blown away. Even if you don't necessarily think you have a problem, you'd be surprised when you start doing this stuff, what you feel. Stuff is sore and tight that you didn't even know was sore and tight. And it's going to, not even just recovery, it's going to loosen you up. Like I do some of this even before I play. It's not even just afterwards. I do some of this stuff before to loosen up my hips a little bit. And so you would notice that too. If you start doing some of this stuff even before you play, you'll notice you just feel looser, a little better. You might have a little bit of a better butterfly flare because you're loosening up, those muscles in the hips. So yeah, I highly recommend this stuff. If you have any questions, like I said, I mean, with most of the stuff, there's not really a specific brand I recommend, other than maybe with the massage gun. I really like the Theragun, but like I said, I get it. It's one of the more expensive ones, so they definitely do have cheaper options with other brands. But I really like the Theragun. But with the other stuff, like it's not really a specific brand. You can get whatever. They're pretty generic things. It's just basically a shape, right? It's not like a machine or whatever that's doing something. So yeah, so stretch and do all this recovery stuff, or as much of it as you can, and I'm telling you, you'll feel better and it'll improve your game. So that's pretty much it for this video. Any comments, questions, I'll be happy to answer, but other than that, I'll see you in the next one.